Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of OverBOTCH. Oh my goodness gracious. And as you can see, if you are watching the video version, we are not a dynamic trio. We are simply the dynamic duo. As Richard, once again, that jerk for having a real job, um, is taking care of some business after the weekend. And so it is back to just Plex and I. Richard will be back
Yeah.
next week. Which means we can trash talk Richard and New York and Toronto all we want. Which, to be fair, I don't think to be Richard almost gets more upset at his home teams than we do.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So yeah,
He wears his heart on his sleeve big time.
and he is very passionate about that, and he was very let's put it heartbroken by some of his team's results. Although, as we just alluded to before we went live here, Toronto defiant. So we'll kind of just jump right into just kind of basic results overall, thought processes, etc. of the weekend. Why it keeps taking my screen away? Do-do-do. So big takeaways of the weekend were just some of the crazy C9 level results that we saw
Yeah.
across a lot of match. And there were a couple technical difficulties. Okay, we're back. Hide, that's right, not stop sharing, hide the screen. That's what I want. But it was, yeah, there were a couple huge examples of it that were like game changing, but then there were just, it seemed like it was cursing a lot of teams. And I don't know,
Yeah.
which is weird because we didn't see it so much in the kickoff clash, but for some reason there have been a couple key C9s
Yeah.
in the Midseason Madness now. I don't know what that is.
I was gonna say, and also he said like some cheeky back caps. Like they used to refer to it as
Yeah.
the Soon Special back from 2018. I mean Decay, hey, for Justice was doing that pretty much all the time. It's like
Yeah.
you guys focus on the fight, I'll deal with this thing over here. But
No
yeah,
kidding.
we've
But
seen
I
some
mean,
unique things to say the
yes.
least.
Very, very much. I mean, big takeaways, starting with APAC, Shanghai kind of kicking back the door open
Yep,
a little
and
bit.
it's clear that Fate is an integral part to the team.
Yeah,
'Cause
like
I
we
get
thought he would be, but that first week, we like I remember we predicted that opening week of Midseason Madness, and we were like, "Oh, Wrecking Ball's back, kind of in play." Fate dominated that last year. Like Dragons are gonna like pop off this, and then the first week was a little, meh.
Void Sigma, which is good, don't get me wrong, but
Right?
it's clear that as I said last time out, it's a case of Fate brings the leadership. Like, you could see Dragons were bouncing off his plays, like, he was going in, followed by Fletter, and then you had Lip going, "Okay, he's over there, I can get a shot off here."
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like he was a playmaker, so to speak,
right.
but also providing a stability to that roster.
Yeah,
So you saw it with Florida Mayhem when they played double shield. In that Fate was sort of the anchor point, so that everyone could do their thing. And we're seeing a similar thing with the Dragons right now with him in play.
yeah. No, absolutely. And especially the I think you're right. I mean, with Fate, because we didn't see Fate a whole lot actually, even in the kickoff clash, because it was pretty much all Void,
I think he was
right?
rotating with Void at the time, but
Yeah, but I mean,
in,
even then, I think most of the time in the kickoff clash, it was a ton of Void because it was Void Zarya,
yeah. So and then obviously
a
in the
little
week,
bit of Fate Monkey, but like,
yeah, then also the first week of this tournament, Team Azets, they hard stuck with Void on the Sigma,
mm-hmm,
which while meta, it's a case of you couldn't really replace Fate's leadership, his
yeah,
playmaking capabilities.
sure, absolutely. And but I mean, but yeah, it's they're back in fashion, as it were, and along with them, I mean, Soul just continues to roll. Like, I mean, I'll even pull up the standings, but like, Soul just keeps on making it look easy.
Yeah, and Smurf is looking a lot better. He
Dude,
seems to
so flexible now, it
he's
seems.
he is looking more comfortable. His Winston's always going to be his strong suit. I'll
Sure.
stand by that.
100%.
But it's clear that he's been working on everything else.
Yes, to a
Which,
high degree.
yeah, which tells me he's a very coachable player, which I think is a benefit to a team like Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, coachable and adaptable. I mean, that's the other thing is like we're seeing how the game has shifted. So everyone, it's fast paced, a little bit more. There's a little bit more DPS centric and a little bit less, protection and coverage for your healers and stuff like that. But that tank, a flexible lead tank, I'm not even gonna say main tank because there's only one tank role, but like a primary tank player seems to have been the key across all the really successful teams. You got your Reiners, your I mean, for a while there, I was saying like Kaluge, someone. These people who was like, you can rely on pretty much that. That is the key. Yeah, there are a lot of these teams that have two, and that flexibility is nice, but the ability within a single map to be able to change is going to be clutch. And I think as the game goes on and progresses, we're going to see more teams with one tank pretty much, unless it's a really, really specific, there's a map that like you have to have a specialist on.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that historically in the past as well with teams like San Francisco Shock, where they'll sub in specific players for specific heroes. I mean, we don't see them do it that much nowadays. I mean, they rotate Sam, Proper, and Kilo accordingly, but in the past, historically, they've had players come in for specific roles, which has often, in my opinion, been to their detriment. Because obviously, if you got, say, a casting player, just an example, but you see the casting's not working and you need, say, an Ashe, there's no guarantee they can flex over to the Ashe and be as effective. So it can. So having that sort of core 5 as it is now, which is highly flexible, is a massive benefit. I mean, we're seeing it with Gladiators as a prime example.
Yeah.
They are so flexible with just that 5 and possibly bringing answer that you're going to need a hit scan.
Yeah.
Like a Widowmaker. You bring in Shu and Skewed and Funny Astro if you want to play whatever. So yeah, they've got a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, and which makes them incredibly dangerous. And we're seeing more of that. Shock is starting to do that pretty well too. And like those are what those top teams do. And we're seeing Spark struggle a little bit after having a really generally good first stage. This stage, they're starting to kind of.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be safe middle of the pack, really. But it's a case of how are they going to handle top quality opposition overall? Because like this game against Fusion, for example, the last time they met, I believe Spark won in a map 5.
Yes, I believe you're right.
So this time around, Fusion. So I think it's a case of that would have been competitive. But then you look further down and you see they got 3-0 by Seoul Dynasty, who we know
I mean,
top team.
Yeah, Seoul is just.
So
I mean,
that tells me that Spark should be a safe mid-table team.
Generally speaking, they're still number 2 in the standings as far as results goes because they did have such a strong opening to the regular season. But the Dragons are creeping; they're creeping up, and Philly is also really. I think these top 3, I think, are pretty much locked for midseason.
Yeah,
but this bubble here, Philly, they are that bubble is ready to pop for Philly.
Yeah, I mean, Fusion. If I just bring up on my side, because I believe Fusion are only up there because of the bonus points. Something like that.
They have to be because I mean, look, the map Chengdu has them on both on map diff. They've won, they've won more games than them. Now. They've won more games, so they must have
5-5 versus 4v6, and then Fusion have the bonus points.
Yeah.
But if you take the bonus point away, Chengdu are in that position.
Exactly. And so remind me, is this coming up weekend? Is this the final chance for anybody to qualify? So. Right? Okay. So Chengdu, like I am just I will fully admit, like some people are really good with this. I am terrible with knowing all the scenarios of like what it takes if this team they need this team to lose and this blah 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 blah. Do we know how delicate this Fusion bubble here is like, what do
Well,
Chengdu just need to win one game? Do Philly need to lose one game?
well, we'll get into the results and fixtures coming up anyway, but I'm just looking at the strength of schedule and well, first match in, Fusion have
Yeah.
got a slightly easier task ahead of them.
Ooh, yeah.
Just see if there's any more for them. Okay,
Guangzhou,
yeah,
yeah, Guangzhou, and then Hunters have Shanghai. So yeah,
it's
the Fusion
yeah,
have a little bit of an easier lead into the weekend.
yeah, I was gonna say. So I think realistically, it's
And
gonna
then,
be a case of there's actually some interesting ones down the line, but we'll get
yep,
to that later. So
yeah. Because we'll do a preview before we finish up for this coming up week, the final week of Midseason Madness qualifiers. But yeah, so moving up to NA, which is a little bit more of our hard focus because a lot of our primary home teams are in NA. I mean, pretty much, man. The story of this stage for me in NA is London. I
yeah,
mean, what a run they've been on. I mean, we're gonna find out, obviously, by the end of this stage, if is it a stage specific meta? Or are they just hitting their stride? I'm very excited to watch where this team goes heading into the rest of the season. But
yeah.
man, they've got this brawl comp working for them.
I think realistically, it's a bit of both because we know that Baptiste got buffed,
Mm-hmm.
and Baptiste is it's basically a core component of the Rush comp. So the Baptiste buff combined with the fact that Spitfire are very well drilled on that comp makes them a very scary proposition going into the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's a case of they know what they're doing, they know how to counter things, they know what counters them, which
Yep.
I think is another factor. So we see, for example, Backbone flex over to the Sombra from time to time from the May.
And can we forget
Yes,
Backbone on the Zenyatta?
the bone back switch. Yeah,
The bone back? The last
yeah,
minute secret signing of the
yeah,
London Spitfire coming
yeah,
out of one of the local adoption shelters and said, "I need a home. I can throw orbs and
yeah. And he
discords at
he
people."
actually really comfortable.
Well, I mean, you have to imagine they decided to throw him in for a reason. It
Yeah,
wasn't as a joke. It must have
yeah,
been because he had skill or had shown some skill or some flexibility in scrims or whatever
yeah.
before.
So I should point out that in the past, during the Goats meta, the flex damage player would be the Brigitte 9 times out of 10.
Sure.
The hit scan player would be on the Zarya.
Yep.
So Backbone would have had experience playing Brigitte if need be.
Right.
But then obviously he, with his ability as a damage player, to play the Zenyatta. I mean,
Yeah.
over this past weekend, we saw Architect sneak under the radar on Ana behind Joe's
Yeah.
Park.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I almost forgot about that. I mean,
Don't worry,
but
Achilles and Avril didn't even spot that either. So
yeah, I mean, I actually remember watching the game. I'm like, wait, hold up, what is going on?
yeah,
So yeah,
and
you had
and
that
again,
switch. You had Backbone onto the Zen, and of course, we kicked off the season with people like Dante on the Doomfist. Like, there's been a lot of experimentation
yeah,
this season.
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, that is very true. But man, yeah, London is just
They are the wild card in all this.
100%. I mean, the fact that we had them down with Vancouver, and there's your standings, by the way. So Paris are not the worst team. There's Vancouver cannot get out the gate.
Yeah,
That's by
they kind of
a
they can't even
mile.
walk up to the gate at this rate.
Yeah, I mean they can't even be dragged up to the gate if they wanted to. But
But they have been improving in terms of play. I'll say that much.
yes, and they do. Deepay is there, and so it might be a slow turnaround. Maybe he bring his coaching style there, which we know he's got some proven success. So, but coaching is one of those longer term internal things that you don't just show up and be like, oh, we have a new coach, we're better now.
Yeah.
It's going to take scrumming with them and working with them and everything like that. So hopefully over the coming weeks, we will see that improve. But anyway, back to London. To see them jump up to pushing up to 4 is crazy.
Yeah.
And super interesting to watch. It's another one of those things where it's going to be like they kind of, but I think they might have a little bit more flexibility. They kind of remind me of Outlaws in that sense of like, we have this comp, when it works, it frickin' works. But there's going to be situations where we might get hard stuck in a rough situation with it.
Yeah, they've got the plan B, as it were. It's like, okay, hey, this rush cop's not working. We'll bring in Shax, and we'll bring in potentially Poco, and we'll
Right.
mix it up, kind of thing. It's like
And I
depending on
mean,
what we need.
yeah, like Houston has Piggy, but they rely. I feel like they've relied a lot on the Dante Doomfist.
Yeah, it's a case of I said before. What if the Doomfist doesn't work and it's mid map? It's like what
Yeah.
else can Dante switch to?
Like it. Luckily, like
Historically-
he's very good and can make it work even if it's not ideal. But like, there's gotta be a situation where there's gonna be who like a hard counter,
Yeah,
and then you're stuck.
it just makes you wonder how much. It's like how much of their time they put into practicing the Doomfist comp versus
Mhm.
everything else.
Yeah.
So is it like an 80-20 split, for example? It's like 80% time Doomfist comp, 20% everything else. We don't know the breakdown.
No, we
obviously.
don't. It seems the way they play it, though, it seems like it because, like, unless it's a special map or whatever, Piggy comes in for like something like a Circuit Royale and brings out Sigma. Occasionally, a Reinhardt,
Yeah,
Pigheart comes out of the gate, but like I said, 9 times out of 10, they're playing this Doomfist comp, and
yeah,
it has worked, and a lot, and it's kept
yeah,
them in this nice little upper middle area of the bracket. But I mean, I'm just, especially, here's my biggest concern is in NA, it's good, it'll hold them here. But then when you get into something like the Midseason Madness, which, as we know, and if you didn't, it is an international tournament. Everybody will be facing off against folks of now. Do we know, is the whole tournament mixed, or is it just the finals? Are we just
I
gonna
don't know the exact breakdown. I think it is mixed, like a mixed bracket.
like throughout?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like keep rambling, and I'll
sure.
find out for you.
Yeah, because it would depend. There, I thought I remember originally it was just gonna be like, hey, almost like 2 little tournaments leading up, like 2 brackets, and then one winner from East, one winner from West. They face each other, and then that's your Midseason Madness winner.
Yeah,
But it might be a completely mixed bracket where it's a full on, what is it, 8 and 4, 12 team bracket, maybe just do 6 and 6, and then you totally
Yeah.
mix and you meet in the middle.
My assumption is that because Project Aloha is in play, that it will be a mixed bracket. So
Unless, though, we'll get 100% clarification on this, but because ideally, if the whole selling point is that it's an international thing, you're gonna want your final to definitely be an East team versus a West team in theory, which I think I'm trying to remember last year when they did the stage finals. They had separate brackets for East and West, and then at the final, it was an East team versus a
yeah,
West
it's a
team.
final 4 sort of thing.
Yeah, I believe it might be, which, because in theory, if it was totally mixed, you could have it could be Gladiators versus Shock at the end of it.
Yeah,
And I think the whole idea is you want your grand final to be like the best of the East versus the best of the West. So I'm pretty sure that we will get a separate bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep researching as we go, but
Yeah,
that's obviously we'll see.
Of course. I mean, it looks here. We have the brackets. They don't obviously have any teams or anything like that, but it looks like, I mean, it doesn't look like separate brackets.
Yeah,
It's
gonna
all,
say.
it's all
in. Yeah, I think it's top teams from both regions. Obviously, scaled based on how many teams are in that region as well.
Mhm. So there's 8 in the round 1, and then I'm not sure who's going to get, top seeds will probably get a bye.
Yeah.
So the top 4 teams, probably 2 from APAC, 2 from NA, will get a bye.
I'm on Wikipedia right now, and they're showing in Shock, Gladiators locked in, which we know, and Soul Dynasty are locked in.
Yeah.
So it looks like it is going to be a joint bracket where seeds are going to be based on everything in between, so to speak.
Okay. And
we'll find out.
We'll
find out on Sunday, won't we?
Yeah, we will find out more, absolutely. But getting into some of the drama of the week. And we left the eras of, what do you call it? Like Twitter and like roster drama to, we referenced it earlier, C9 City, baby. Two huge ones.
Yeah.
But there were a couple throughout the weekend. The biggest one being, to me, it was the Outlaws versus the Reign,
Yeah.
which was, I don't know why I don't have that
That
pulled
was a
up. I need to,
classic blink and you'll miss it.
oh my god, I need to pull that one up because that one is absolutely freaking
Yeah.
wild.
Legitimately, I was watching that and I didn't even see the flip. I did not even
I
see.
know. It was so fast. That's why everyone was literally, our friend of ours, Patrick Dane, was watching and just like, shoot, we C9, we lost, we stepped off the point, we lost. He's an Outlaws fan, and it literally takes a full like 90 seconds to be like, wait, what? Even the casters were like, wait, what?
Yeah. So they had to show the replay for the top down as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there was only that top down. When I actually went back and watched it, and I was saying to you, it literally came down to one decision.
Yeah.
Realistically. Because I think it was Hawk or Nero in a duplicated Doomfist.
Here,
It was one of the two.
This again, I lowered the quality, so hopefully the broadcast should be smooth of this one. This was absolutely wild.
Yeah, I mean the replay will show a bit better.
Yeah. So for if you're newer to the league, first off, I don't know why you're watching this stream, but hey, welcome. If you are newer, then these teams are trying to fight for this point. The team in red and the team in white, and we'll kind of get a little. I wish we could. We'll do a little bit of a replay here. They're close to capturing 100%. The Outlaws, they have it here.
Yeah.
And I believe 2 of the Atlanta Reign go down the well.
Yeah.
At some point.
Because it goes to 99.99 as well. So.
Yes, it does. So, I mean, I can probably even skip ahead a teeny bit. Because, Atlanta takes the point.
Yeah. And then the fun starts, essentially.
Yeah. So now, we are getting to this.
Scuffles going all over the place.
Yes. All over the place. We are 99.
Yeah.
And this is a long overtime fight.
Yeah. And I think that also played into it. Because obviously, the longer the overtime goes on, the quicker it.
Pelican goes down.
If you pause it here, Matt. So before we wind it on, I want people to look at the clock at the top. Notice the white line in the middle. So watch that line as we go on. Okay, Matt, if you hit it again.
Burn down.
Yeah, I'm talking about this circle.
Oh,
so watch that.
The capture. That's the capture percentage. That's the other team in the trying to. Once that flips, that means they have control of the point.
So yeah, watch as that goes. So you can see
people listening to the audio version.
At what I call the 4 o'clock position.
Yep.
Then it goes up. Now it's at the 10 o'clock position. And you can see over time that bar increases as Atlanta players are ducking in and out, trying to keep point, and same with Outlaws.
And this is abnormally long. Like fights normally don't go on the overtime. You get a couple bips off the thing. Maybe it flips once or so, but this is like a full minute or two on overtime. And the more times it gets reset, the faster it drops down.
Yeah,
so you got to keep getting right back to point very quickly.
The catch pro set the 10 o'clock position as we call it.
Right now, Atlanta has control. So like they're under they're under the impression we have control of the point.
Resets the clock.
Nero is back. Now Nero is Echo, who's almost at a copy. That'll be keyed as well.
And we have a Boostio on the field.
Yes, from the Outlaws, we have a nano boosted Lucio, who just, I believe, does he boop somebody into the hole?
I can't really tell. Yeah, there's the Nero clone. He goes in.
So Nero has copied Doomfist.
You might again at 10 o'clock.
But now look, we've got Nero's as the Doomfist. Hawk is dead. People are fighting around the point.
Yeah. So it's that meteor strike there.
Oh my god!
It's literally that meteor strike. It was the right call, but at the wrong time.
So again, audio people, I really hate this. Hopefully you will forgive us, but like literally go back milliseconds. So
if you want to put that down to about 0.25 in terms of
speed.
Yeah, so that's another thing we could do.
Where? Okay.
Click the cog bottom right.
No, I know. No, I'm doing when to do it. I don't want to do it too
Okay,
early,
yeah,
so we're sitting
I'm
there
with you.
for so long.
So you can see Nero, he deals with Dante.
Probably here. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, which right now you can see it's hard. It's kind of hard to see, but
okay, so here we go. So
he goes in. He gets his ult. Meanwhile, he doesn't realize he's the only one on the point.
Yeah, Venom, I believe, is in that top corner at the top of frame.
So
Venom's in the back line.
He's up there, but Nero, who's a copy Doomfist, doesn't realize he's the only one on the point. Outlaws in this little white box here are literally somebody walks away, they take the point, and it's burned down so many times it is going to be lightning fast. It is burned down so many times,
quite literally. So here we go.
No, forget that when Doomfist does his meteor strike, he launches up and you're not technically is registering. Even though you're moving like your target around the map, you are gone from the map.
Yeah.
And he's gone literally just enough time to give the Outlaws the cap as you watch.
Yeah, because you can see.
He goes up,
Lastro is on the point.
It flips, and he does it come down. Burn, 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 down.
Still in the animation.
Back. Oh my God.
And of course, he was also transforming back to Echo as well. So it's a combination of factors. So, as I said, Nero did the right thing because he was under pressure, but he did it at the wrong time, which is unlucky on his part.
Absolutely. And there the Outlaws win. And the meme of all memes. Oh wait, I think we is Hawk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just hands upon the face.
You can see Ultraviolet as well.
Oh yeah,
I mean that is just pure bad luck on time because later on they show you the top-down view, and you can clearly see Venom is in that frame.
Yeah,
like he's sort of coming in. Because they're all doing the right thing. It's just that
exactly
bad timing.
It is just look at OG. Everybody, it's just razor. I have never seen a margin that narrow.
I've been watching the Overwatch League pretty much since its inception, and I don't think I've ever seen that myself. Like I've seen some close calls, but never involving a flip like that.
Yeah, absolutely
ridiculous.
It was. Just the. I saw it was close, and I was confused, but I didn't realize how close. Literally, flip, capture, boom, and he reforms or whatever.
He lands right as the clock stops, which is, I mean, I feel for Nero in this one because I always thought he was the scapegoat for Shock last year. He was a really talented player, really flexible, almost the same level as Kevster, in my opinion, but that little one mistake, that just gives you an idea of how razor thin the margins are in the league. At times,
and it was a good game. It was a good game overall. I think Atlanta has a ton of potential. And like they're good, but they're not the monster I think that a lot of people thought they would be. Maybe coming into this season, I think they're punching. They're solid. I think they're going to be around for most of the tournaments. You know, they've got their spot locked in, I believe, for midseason. They're not on the bubble or anything like that. So, so like it's not a devastating loss in terms of just like standings, but it's the fact that it was that razor close. Is absolutely nuts. So that was a ton of fun to watch. There were a lot of exciting games like that.
I'll admit it was a little bit boring, that match at times, because it turned into what I call flowchart Overwatch, where each team was going through a checklist of things to do. Like, we've got to engage here, we've got to do this, and just hope to get a pick along the line. But when it was pushing the tempo and such, really, really good.
Yeah, I think the control maps on that one were the most exciting.
The first one was a bit dull to me, but obviously.
Oh, really? I thought it
was. That was literally flowchart Overwatch. It's like, oh, we got Doomfist in, Tracer in. It's like it was flowchart Overwatch, which I hate.
I mean, but at the same time, what else do you expect? I mean, you got to win. You got to do what wins. It's not always the most like, weird kooky play. I mean, sometimes, but if the action's good and stuff like that, I think I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, people who've watched the Goats Metal will understand what I mean, where teams would just show up and then dance essentially for a minute and hope that something happens during the
Yeah,
flow.
I can see what you mean by that.
That's the kind of thing. It's like if you go back and watch 2019 Goats, you'll get an idea of what I'm on
Yeah.
about. Because poke comps, for example, like the double shield, I've got no problem with those because you know that at any point someone's going to get domed by a
Oh,
six.
yeah.
So it's like there's always that potential. But what I was seeing in those two maps, I was like, something happened. Come on.
I know. I hear you. I hear you on
Yeah.
that one. Well, another game where something did happen
Yes.
was the Florida Mayhem and the
My
Boston
team.
Uprising were fighting for again, it wasn't a hard like qualification match, but if Florida won, they pretty much locked in their spot, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
there was some key things. So I rewatched the match last night, and
I'm just gonna
Boston in
play
the
the
first,
highlights in the background here.
say the Boston Uprising, I will give them credit. In the first half, their target acquisition and priority was incredible. It's like they
Yeah, they
knew who
started
to take
really
down when.
strong. Yes.
It's like you can see the number of times they put pressure on certain players and things like that. I mean, hats off to Exy for coming in for this one as well, by the
Yeah.
way.
You know,
Like you
I
could
mean,
tell this lineup was specifically designed to help Exy get more comfortable.
I think
Get,
early on, I mean, to be fair, throughout the match, but especially early on in this one, and I feel like it's been a
yeah,
little bit of an issue all season. Majed keeps getting caught off
yeah.
guard. He
So
keeps getting the early
he is
picks.
aggressive. I mean, we saw in this play here, the second Valentine pulls that blade, Animo was down because they knew they needed to get him down quickly because he was the
Yes.
sort of enabler of
Yeah.
sorts. But on map 2, that was close, apart from the final play
Yeah.
for me, because
Yes.
it all came down to the fact that Victoria got the pulse bomb on checkmate. Checkmate at the
Yes.
time had the blade. And in theory, assuming that checkmate had not gone down there, I think Mayhem could have completed King's Row. That
Sure.
realistically could have happened. It
Yeah.
was just that 1 in a million play.
But I do think Xe popped off in this matchup.
Second half, he blew
Yeah.
dominated.
Dude, he was getting him on the Sojourn and stuff like that was absolutely wild. I think also the utility this first map that we're watching now, the Lijiang Tower, the support lines. I mean, I think the utility of the Zen and the Ana just with the
It
sleeps
shone through,
and the
yeah.
and the nades and then the
There's an element
discords.
there's an element to me of like Mayhem may have slightly underestimated Boston.
Yeah.
And in this map, like I said, it was very close, apart from that last pulse bomb, which I think will come up on screen eventually.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
You
That
can
was a
see
huge play.
both teams were coming together, trying to figure out ways how to counter each other. So
Yeah.
I mean, overall, the series was fantastic. It's like
It was a
everyone had
really
their time to shine.
yeah, it was a really good match and it showed why Florida has been in the position they've been in, which I think it was a big punch up from last year. And it's showing Boston, you know, with the addition of people like Crimzo and the ability to be playing Punk more often, which I think is a smart move for them as well.
Yeah.
Is paying off for them too.
I'd say Punk's in a similar position to me as Fate in that he brings that leadership and stability.
Yeah, there was that C9
Well,
that
yeah, and you can
right
see that
right as
Mayhem were
Boston
trying.
pushing into Pink too there.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to let Matt take over here. So watch for the pulse bomb on checkmate.
Yeah, which yeah, and Checkmate's got the blade,
Yeah,
pops it.
so
Bye
this was
bye.
before.
This is before that. Oh, okay.
So no, this was after. So checkmate was coming in with the blade on the previous fight, and Valentine got
Did they
him
show?
before.
Yeah, did they show? I'm not sure if they
I
showed
don't
it in
think they
this,
did.
which is kind of weird.
Yeah, so because prior to this, checkmate. Yeah, because checkmate uses the blade to try and get back. I remember that much.
Gotcha.
So here we go.
And Valentine doesn't have the pulse, so
Yeah, so this was after. So
this
if
is
you
after
watch the
that.
full match back,
Yeah,
you'll see that checkmate got pulse bombed. So he's back at spawn at this point. So yeah. And then
yeah.
just yeah. But I mean, one thing I appreciate about this point A on Route 66, Mayhem burned the clock to give themselves that actually caused the domino effect later on.
Yeah, no, they did.
See.
Like they Boston was pushing short, but they burned this down pretty damn far.
Yeah, it's a case of it's that little margin of error. It's like they burn. I think it's like 20 seconds off the clock for doing this.
Yes.
That's 20 seconds you don't get back later on.
Mhm.
So you get to here. Look at what's happened.
Yep.
Imagine they had that 20 seconds. They could have.
They probably could have pushed. Yeah, they might have even been able to finish the map. You never know.
Yeah.
And Valentine, I think, had a really good show overall. He like
Shout
him
out
and
to Arnamo for that
Exy.
nano boost, by the way.
Yeah, but Valentine and Exy were like the star DPS players in this matchup
Yeah,
overall.
Crimzo, to me, could have earned man of the match as well.
Yeah, no, Crimzo on Zen has been
again. This is taken by that. This was. Are they going to show it? Well, I doubt it because at this point, Valentine gets nano boosted but doesn't pull the blade.
Yeah. Decided to hold on to it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a case of because I theorized that it was because he couldn't close the gap. I just thought to myself, even that. Then here we go. Checkmate pulls blade. Crimzo's transcendence. So even the threat of the blade sometimes can force ultimates.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually a really interesting psychological aspect to this game.
And then meanwhile you talk about Mayhem burned Boston's time, but Mayhem racked up the time. So these last couple of fights, they had plenty of engagement time.
Except on their attacking round, they pushed the tempo.
Oh
they really sort of went for it. It's like they were like, and this.
Oh my god!
Fantastic.
I looked down at my
phone.
About
pushing the tempo.
This is the open. Yeah, I looked down at my phone for like 20 seconds, and I hear the opening music. I'm like, dun, 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 and then like I hear team kill, and I'm like, what? What is going on?
It's like Mayhem really pushed the tempo right from the beginning here with the rush comp because they knew with Punk still in, they were locked into the slower Sigma comp.
Yeah,
so it's like, okay, let's go for it.
Dude, and look, someone is very flexible, but someone Reinhardt is greater than someone Doomfist. He is uber aggressive and it's working. I can't wait to the next time we see London versus Florida and maybe see a Reinhardt matchup.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Ryan Mirror.
That would be very interesting to see.
They don't show it this clip, but there was a point where Exy, he's getting pressured by Punk. Punk is putting the shield from him. So Exy goes, okay, I'm just going to slide right past you and take out the supports.
Yeah. Oh, it's gross.
It was just that decision making as well was fantastic. Like everyone was like, okay, let's really take it to them. They're going to be slower than us. Let's make sure they can't get settled.
Yeah. Florida is such a good push team.
Yeah.
And I said, they seem to have really good record on push. They just have that. I don't know what it is that it's the tempo or the aggression on it, but they
know when to change the tempo.
Yes.
Essentially. And on the last map, they brought in Itzal. And
that even the casters were like, it is 2-2. The ball game is in the air, and you're gonna try a specialty
Yeah, keep in mind that Itzal is yet to win a map.
Yeah,
he has never won a map in the Overwatch League,
and he the ball is in his pocket, but he's not like I don't mean to say anything, but he's not a star. Like he's not someone's like, oh shoot.
It's clear they play better with Punk. We'll say that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we'll say that, and we'll say a lot more. Like I couldn't believe with the game on the line that they took Punk out.
I mean,
they got that sub map, but man, it was still very interesting.
Then Mayhem were like, right, let's take this game by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, another one of just upping that tempo, upping the aggression.
Yeah, and then the final fight. My God, Uber brought out the rap god.
Oh yeah,
that last map. I'm not going to spoil it too much because obviously we haven't got that far in the footage on video, and the boot from Arnamo here on Crimzo. I genuinely believe if Crimzo had not been booted to the pit, they would have survived.
Yeah, and then they might have taken it back.
Yeah, because Transcendence is 300 healing per second.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he obviously overclock can still hit through, but at the same time,
it's very difficult.
Yeah. So here we go. No, we're on the final point. Every player on this this map, like not even just one team, every player that played to their best.
Yep.
And that is I think I've said this to you in private, Matt. I think this is match of the year. Legitimately, this is match of the year.
It was really, really good.
It was competitive, but for the right reasons, so to speak. Very few mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And
here we go.
yep,
Final fight.
Yep,
Matt got in
another
play.
99-99, not too dissimilar from the rain in
Point
Houston.
flips.
Game on the line. One map each in control here.
Honestly, if you could find the highlight online, watch the highlight with Uber's commentary. He goes for it
Yeah.
and proves why he is one of the best casters in the Overwatch League.
Yeah. And I remember, like, I saw, like, here, like, Valentine takes down Exy. I'm like, oh, Boston's got it. Like, Valentine's just popping off. But nope, it keeps going. Like, and then the rest of Florida get back to point and clear them off.
And look at the celebrations.
It's good, again, because they know that they've locked in their spot.
Yeah. And what you don't see, this is something that they have posted on their social media, is that Hydron just comes charging in and just grabs Exy and just carries him out.
Oh yeah, dude. Because again, he carried so much of that game and just put in some heavy work.
I mean,
And
that second half was all Exy. I mean,
yeah,
he is just really coming back to form, and that's a scary prospect. And Exy, healthy and on form, duck and cover.
and on low ping.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah, that always helps.
Before we get too far away from the previous matches, there's one thing I was saying to you just before that I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you
Right, yes, indeed. So you had an interesting observation on some Sombra play this weekend. Because I noticed it a little bit too. It seemed to get some more play time in some pretty interesting scenarios.
Yeah, and I want to specifically talk about innovation on the Sombra with the LA Valiant.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I noticed was how he was playing the Sombra, because we've seen somebody use to counter Doom fist comps and there's like hack specific targets, make them more vulnerable.
Right.
One thing I noticed was that innovation used the Sombra to lock down the health packs. So basically, there's always been a thing about space control, zone control, things like that. You see it in all the other sports. Like they'll make opponents go into specific areas that aren't favorable. So, for example, in football, or I call football,
Yes.
you'll
Real
see
football.
teams play very narrow to force their opponents to go wide, which they may not necessarily want to do.
Right.
With this, what Innovation did was he locked down specific health packs to ensure that their opponents, I believe it was Chengdu Hunters on New Queen Street, could only go to certain places on the map to get healing. And at the time, they were running Winston. And obviously, Winston at times will use the health pack to top himself up. So have them taken away, that's immediate zone control. Okay. Wow, you work quick there.
I'm on the highlight. I don't know if we'll see exactly what you're looking at, but no, that's one of the key things too. Yeah, those health packs, especially on maps like this where the people are flanking around all the time. You might not have your healers with you at all times. It's not a straight line.
So you see there, that health pack there. There's also the one by the walkway at the center of the map. Innovation kept those locked down specifically to make sure that Gaga had to keep going back.
And I think that is an underrated Sombra play.
We saw a little bit of that with Exy on Ilios Ruins as well. Like he locked down that mega health pack at all times.
Yeah.
It's a simple sort of micro play, as Action Esports will call it.
Yeah.
But it works.
And I think so many people hard focus on, Sombra, hacking and comping, a wrecking ball, getting him to transform, or like a Doom Fist or something like that. But I'm like, yeah, but that health pack control, again, especially on a push map where there's a lot of flanking going on. Like I said, sometimes teams spread out a lot to get to these points. So you need to rely on health packs as opposed to your supports. If you lock those down, you eliminate a lot of support difference.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody watching or listening gets the chance, go back and watch Valiant versus Chengdu, the first map, and you watch Innovation carefully, and you can see how he controls space by taking away health packs.
Absolutely.
It's a simple thing that not many people may pick up on, but it's an attention to detail thing that I've always been raised to have. So
yeah. And I'll be curious to see, because Sombra has been pretty kind of like underplayed, and like especially, which is so funny because going into Overwatch 2, everybody saw the rework and were like, holy crap, she's busted.
Yeah,
Her hack does damage. She can hack while staying in stealth. Like EMP now actually causes a little bit of damage and all this stuff. And I'm like,
yeah, it's like takes away 40%.
yeah, people thought like she's gonna be bust, but like she is not really that overpowered
Yeah,
in the big scheme of things.
yeah. So she's good, but there's heroes above her, like Tracer, for
Yes,
example.
yes, 100%.
It's kind of like the best way I can put it is with TCGs is that yes, you have a solid competitive deck, but it's going to be power crept out by other decks that come into the format, things like that.
Right.
So it's basically a power creep thing. But Sombra has her uses, and that's something I just want to quickly highlight.
Yeah, and again, I like that too because, like I said, it's focusing on a different utility of hers that I don't think it's talked about a lot in competitive play, in that health bat and that field control. It's controlling the field. So it's different than just straight up just hacking people, which is what everybody kind of
Yeah,
focuses on her utility for.
a subtle thing that most people don't really think about.
Yeah.
And
So
this is coming from a Sombra player. So,
well, yeah. So you have a lot of thoughts on that,
so
of course.
for the record, I'm Sombra Tracer Ash. For those that are curious,
But nobody plays Ash anymore, so it's okay.
the Apex says hello.
I was gonna, yeah. unless you're on the other side of the world, yeah, which they still. I want to see more Ash play. I like Ash as a hero. I think it's a really nice middle ground between like sniper and kind of mid range. I want to see more Ash.
And she has
We'll
a
see if
robot
she gets a
butler
little
as well.
bit. And she's got a robot butler. And who doesn't want a freaking robot butler? But alas, looking ahead, ladies and gentlemen, we have one more week, right? I believe one more week.
It's
And
this week,
then-
and then the big one.
And then it's the this week, and then the week after that is the tournament. Yes,
Yes, I
Yes,
think
it
it's
is.
like a break as well.
or there might
First.
be a break in between. Okay,
Yeah, to just get
Oh, yeah,
teams in position and things like that. So
yes, because Midseason Madness starts on July 18th. So yeah, so this weekend is the final weekend to potentially qualify,
Yeah.
and then for any bubble teams. But again, a lot of teams have already locked in. As you see, people like Shock. And Shock, Glads, Dallas, London, Houston, Atlanta. Florida has now locked in their spot. Now, technically, I don't think Toronto is in too much danger. The differential's
like-
pretty. It's not like it's like 1-1 and like a difference of one map or anything like that. They're a pretty. It's going to depend on how
Yeah,
certain people's weekends
gonna-
go.
so realistically, these final games are going to predominantly decide the seeding, especially with
Yes.
Atlanta, Mayhem, and Defiant. They're
Yes.
sort of locked in on the same. They've basically got identical records at this point, aside from the map differential. So
Yeah.
it's going to depend on their results for final seed. And keep in mind that Mayhem are facing the Gladiators this week as well. So that's another factor.
That is very, very much a factor. So, but looking at our schedule for this coming week, and we'll, like we always do, we will do some rapid fire predictions, give our general, especially considering the Midseason Madness coming up. So we talked about it a little bit earlier, kicking things off, Philadelphia Fusion, who is in that bubble zone and kind of just about ready to pop. Chengdu is chomping at their heels, but they start off with Guangzhou Charge. So, I mean, I don't think it's 3-0, but I'm thinking like a 3-1.
Yeah, I'd say Fusion have been known to slip on these banana peel games. So
I don't.
cautious
even
3-1, I'm going to say.
I know, and like with maybe even I think they've got the win, but it might even be a 3-2. But
Yeah.
I think they do have a pretty. I would hope, God bless it. I would certainly hope they have a pretty solid win. What that win looks like.
They need to win convincingly, essentially.
I would to hold on to your spot. I would want to win very convincingly here.
Yeah.
So but then meanwhile, Chengdu, the team that is chomping at Philly's heels, placing Shanghai, who have been on quite a roll. What do you think here,
I'm
Flex?
leaning towards if Fate plays 3-2 Shanghai, I think it'll be very competitive because you've got two teams that like to play the wrecking ball
Mm-hmm.
and so these variations of it. So, but also map pool is going to come into play as well because obviously, let's say Circuit Royale comes up, you'll need your off tank players to come in.
Right.
So it's Matt Poor, I think, is going to dictate it, but I'm cautiously going to say Shanghai 3-2.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Shanghai, they've got a little bit, I think, of a better read, and I think they've got a little bit stronger flexibility on some of the roles. So yeah, I'll say three,
Mm,
but I think Chengdu can punch, but I don't think they're gonna knock anybody out. I'm gonna say 3-2 as well.
mm.
Moving into NA, we have the Outlaws and the New York Excelsior, who
Need I
did.
ask where you're going?
Yeah, I mean, the New York Excelsior looked surprisingly competent
They actually look really. They were the
against.
better team, in my opinion.
Yeah, freaking
It's
the
against the
Dallas
Fuel,
Fuel,
by the way.
the Dallas Fuel, who have been despite not being like dominant to the level of like Shock and Glad, have still been a solidly top team this season.
They've been
And
getting the job
yeah,
done, essentially.
yes, exactly. And NYXL have been pretty near bottom barrel, but
Yeah.
they kind of woke up despite having some good talent. They kind of woke up.
Yeah.
And so that has that. And but at the same time, we have to remember like one good performance does not make,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, a big turnaround. Doesn't mean they could have had a lucky day. They could have got a couple lucky plays. We're gonna have to see how this carries over. Houston still have this one. I think I think the DPS line,
Yeah.
while is good, I think they're better. I think their support line is far better.
Hmm.
And I think the tank is better too. DPS is probably, I mean, we know how good freaking good Yaki is.
Yeah.
But
And Flora on his day can change
100%.
the game a little bit.
So I think that's the most competitive line, but I think Houston's support and tank do end up beating
Yeah.
Excelsior.
Houston have the overall sort of squad quality. I mean,
Yes.
Kellen, I'm still not
I'm not
convinced
sold on. Yeah, me too.
I mean, he has his moments, but
Mm-hmm.
other times he's feeding the 5,000,
Yeah.
essentially. So, yeah, I'm going to say Houston I'm going to say a 3-1 on this one, actually.
Okay. Yeah,
I expect
I would say,
Excelsior to
yeah, I
carry
think,
their form.
yeah, I think they'll riding off the momentum of last week. I think they'll be confident. They'll be probably figure out some plays that work for them. I could see a 3-1 for sure.
Yeah.
So speaking of feeding, the Toronto Defiant have a match.
Richard,
And,
where are you?
Oh, he's not here to defend it. So screw Richard. He's not here to
Yeah.
defend them or try to even make light of it. Whatever. Yeah, Toronto Defiant, who went 1-1 last week. They faced the undefeated in the regular season, San Francisco Shock. Defiant steadying a little bit, but this is a solid. I'll give him a 3-1 for a Shock here.
I'm going to say, so no, this is going to be with a caveat. So I'm going to say 3-0 Shock,
Okay.
but Defiant will make them work for it.
So 3-0, but some close maps maybe.
Yeah, it's one
Okay.
of those games where, yes, they'll win, but will they win convincingly? Because we've seen them shaky recently. Shock. They've looked like they have been struggling, not in terms of like results, but in terms of performance as of
Sure.
late. So
Although I did want to call out the last week, the Mikey Wrecking Ball on Oasis with who were they playing? Was it New York? No.
I
think it was Paris. It was Paris.
It was one or the other, yeah.
He knocked a lot of them into traffic,
Yeah.
and it was awesome.
Yeah, I think it was Paris.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm gonna say a competitive 3-0 with
all right.
Defiant looking the better team. That's
Fair
just
enough.
me.
Fair enough. Moving on, we have the Paris Eternal versus the Atlanta Reign. Then in the battle of how boomed are the Atlanta Reign heading into this?
Call this the battle of the chickens, shall we?
Yeah, this is the battle of the birds, the hen pecking massacre potentially here. So I like the new DPS line of Wub and Dove. I think they've shown some really nice promise. It hasn't translated into a ton of dubs, despite the name being Wub and Dove, which should combine to have Team Dub on there. But yeah, it hasn't totally translated to that yet. I think Atlanta bounced back, especially when they're angry. I think I'm going to go, honestly, I'm going to say 3-0 Atlanta on this one.
I'm going to say 3-1 Atlanta. Because Paris, they have the quality. And we've seen in the past, their coaching and their scouting is really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they can hit any player that comes in, hits the ground running. So I'm going to say a 3-1.
Yeah.
but I'm not entirely sure where that one's going to come from.
We got to get an update too on. I think it's still a ways away of when. And again, I don't want to make it sound like he's could be like some savior, but when Speedily is eligible, I believe it's in August. I believe it's after
I think it's
midseason.
late in the season, yeah.
Yeah.
See, he's got to play for his place as well because you've got Kai, you've got Nero, you've got
Yeah,
Venom.
of course. And especially, I mean, and it might change next stage, but Kai has been pretty nightmarish on the Sojourn in this stage. Moving back over to the east, we have the leader, Soul Dynasty, versus the LA Valiant, who have had some success lately, but more recently with the addition of Marvel and Molly. But this past weekend has struggled a bit. So
Yeah.
I think we're once again solidly for sure Soul win. But do we think Valiant maybe bounce back and get a map?
It's a potential banana skin game, in my opinion. It's like there's a chance that Soul could sort of slip up, but they should still get the win.
Yeah, I mean that. I think that's undoubted. I'm gonna take. I don't even think it's a win. I'm gonna go 3-0 though. I think they'll make them work for it on some maps, but I think it's 3-0.
I'm saying 3-1 to Soul Dynasty because Valiant have been looking good, and if they play the same style they did in the previous week, that zone control style, that'll make Smurf's life a living hell.
That's fair enough. That's true. And then after that, the Chengdu Hunters get another chance to punch up potentially against the Hangzhou Spark, who again, as we talked about earlier, was kind of rocking early on in the season, but has struggled a little bit as of late. They are still number 2 in the standings, so their spot is pretty safe. But if the Hunters manage to knock them off, I'm terrible with like the math of it all, but I have to imagine even if they lose to the Dragons, that might bode well for them.
Oh, so because Fusion only got one game this week. This is
No, they don't.
Makeup match.
Fusion plays Seoul on Sunday.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I'm gonna say a map 5, and I honestly don't know. It's a coin toss for me.
It really is because I'm like
Both teams
normally
are really good when they're on form. It's a question of who will get there first.
Yeah. It's very, very this one's such a toss-up because Hangzhou, again, they have all that potential and they've shown it. But Chengdu, I mean, when you got Leave on the team, and I believe Jinmu's been having a couple of really great games. Yeah.
You can tell he's trying to go outside his comfort zone and his comfort picks. Like,
yeah.
Typically, if Chengdu historically want to play Tracer Genji, they'll go Sombra Genji instead.
Right.
But Jinmu has been stepping up to the plate big time, filling in the gaps. And of course, we're still seeing the Chengdu style as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give the edge to the Hunters here. I think they're motivated to try to maybe make midseason. I think honestly, I also do think it depends on how bad if they get fucking boomed by Shay. If they get like destroyed 3-0, their mental might be shaky and it could cost them. But if they do well, even if they lose, if they take Shanghai to like 3-2, I think they might be motivated. So I'm gonna give them 3-2.
Yeah, I say, hey, I'm literally by about 0.5% gonna say Chengdu 3-2.
Yeah,
it's gonna be that close.
But that's a teeter-totter though, for sure.
Yeah. The next one, on the other hand,
next one shouldn't. I mean, is a teeter-totter, but it's when the really, really large person sits on one side, and the person flying through the air about to break their neck. Well, that's the Guangzhou charge, and so that's a clean 3-0.
We're gonna say
something funky happens. Unless
the charge, they have looked so poor. Like I've said before, I'll say it again. Engage. Don't just sit there waiting for like this ultimate. You might have a 10% chance of needing. Just get in there, set the tempo.
Don't play Overwatch, not OverBOTCH.
Yeah.
Cheap plug. Anyway, moving back over to NA, in a match that should be easy to predict, but God bless it, is not necessarily. Washington Justice versus Vancouver Titans, the worst team in the league, Vancouver Titans, versus the most unpredictable team, and like the team that people keep seeming to have like faith, like man, like they have all these really good players and they should be really good, and like they've had some performances where they're awesome, but like anytime anybody believes in them, they disappoint us. Like our dad who left when go to get cigarettes and never came back to take us fishing. Like
That's all you need to talk about there, Matt.
No,
But
my
anyway,
daddy is here. Anyway, I think
yeah,
and Aspire has been having some really great performances on Vancouver, but he's can't drag the team by himself. So it's like,
there's
I don't
upset
know.
potential, but I don't know. Justice, if they, this is the weird thing because it's peaks and troughs, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's like Justice have these really high highs and really low lows, whereas you compare them to other teams, they are what you're getting kind of thing.
Like
So there's no
Vancouver
power
Titans, who had just have really low lows.
level. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like there's that line that they're consistent along. With Justice, there's very much swinging the pendulum
Oh my
left and
god.
right.
It's like the pendulum's getting hit with Reinhardt's hammer, and like it's not even like a gradually nice
Like
swing
it's
like
getting
a
hit with
clock.
Reinhardt's hammer on one side and
Yeah.
Doofus punch on the other side.
It's like it's like that amusement park ride you see, like where it's the ship where it's like it almost goes upside down, and it's like everybody's
Yeah.
screaming because it's not fun. It's just horrifying. Yeah, that's the Washington Justice. So
Yeah,
all that said, I mean, who do you give the edge to?
I don't really know.
I know it's like I want to say like, all right, consistently bad Vancouver Titans, inconsistent Justice means they at least have a shot. Justice, but they've let everybody down who's believed in them. Anytime
Yeah.
they get like predded on like the Watchpoint desk or like other podcasts I watch or other friends and fans, it's like it's hard to vote for them. But
Okay,
I
I'll tell
gotta
you what.
go. Yeah, I gotta go Justice. I think it might be a 3-2 though.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. Yes, when this podcast go live, let us know what you think.
Yes, please. This is the one,
Social
probably the
media,
most confusing one of
wherever,
the.
because I want to say the Justice in a 3-1, but Vancouver potentially could cause the upset, in my opinion.
I think
So
so
let
too.
us know on social media. Tweet us our
Yeah.
handles.
Comment down below on if you're watching the YouTube video or whatever. Tweet us. Let us know. Interact. We love it. But moving right along, the Boston Uprising, who had a really great game with the Florida Mayhem, as we just watched, versus my Houston Outlaws. Outlaws. This is a tough one because Outlaws, again, while are firmly higher in the standings, Boston, again, has been cooking along for the most part. And that game with Florida was really close and had Valentine, and Crimzo and Punk. And this one could be close. This could be an upset. I'm going to say 3-2 Houston.
If Punk plays the entire thing or most of it, I think Boston could actually edge it because he brings that stability. He brings the flexibility, which Houston, they need specific players in to do that.
Yes, that's very true.
Because we've also seen Punk can play the Winston if needs be.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
Punk has that for sure.
So based on that, I'm going to slightly edge it to Boston in a 3-2.
Okay. Very
So yeah,
interesting.
I'm sticking my neck out on this one.
Yeah. And that could be. I don't think that'll get, even if they won that, I don't think that'll get Boston into the tournament.
But it will affect Houston's seeding potentially, I believe.
Yes, for sure. And next, your stuff is on the line as the Florida Mayhem take on our kickoff clash winners, the LA Gladiators. Yeah, where's your head at on this?
Okay, heart says Mayhem, but head, I honestly can see us being a 3-2 again. But I'm going to say Gladiators because there's no denying they've got a very flexible top 5 in their lineup, and they know how to play their style. Florida Mayhem, they play the sort of we'll take the fights as and when we want to style. Gladiators just push the tempo and things like that. So
yeah,
I'm going to edge it to the Gladiators. I apologize, my fellow Mayhem fans, but I'm taking the hat off for a moment. But I can see Mayhem on the other side. They could potentially win it as well. But
I definitely think they're going to make him work for it. I got to go Glads as well. I think Florida's going to definitely make him work for it. This won't be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
I think a big thing will be, again, coming back to the support. Because, I mean, if Majed keeps getting caught out, again, Shoe, Skewed, Funny Astro, all top tier support players. So I think that'll make a big difference. I'm gonna go 3-1.
Okay. Yeah, it should be noted that as we saw in the standings, it's a 3-way tie at the bottom between Rain, Mayhem, and Defiance. So so Mayhem got something to fight for. I don't think Gladiators have that much.
No, they're solid. Again, it's maybe just seeding at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so Mayhem will bring it, no doubt.
All right, and our last matches of the weekend for Sunday: Seoul and Philly. I'm gonna kind of go rapid fire here. Seoul and Philly. I think if Philly are motivated, I think it's gonna be 3-1 Seoul.
I'm going to say Soul 3-0 because I just don't trust the Fusion at this point.
Totally fair.
They are just so coin flippy. It's just I've got more faith in Soul Dynasty.
Yeah, I get that. LA Valiant, Hangzhou Spark. You know what? They say they're kind of like LA Valiant's kind of like the justice of APAC a little bit, where it's like I think they have these wild swings where like they win all weekend and then they lose. I think this is gonna be one of those matches where they show up. I think this will be a 3-2. They might even reverse sweep Hangzhou. I think Valiant win. I'm gonna I'm punting this one out into the nether sphere, just because I think they swing a lot like that, and I think this will be one of those games for some reason.
Yeah.
That I think they're going to do it. So I'm going to say 3-2 Valiant.
I'm right there with you. I'm going to say 3-2 Valiant.
Really? Okay. Look at that.
Pretty much the same reasons. It's be competitive, and
Yeah.
Valiant have shown they can step up.
100%. And closing out our NA matches for the weekend, London Spitfire, who've been on quite a roll. And this Plex, I believe you wanted to highlight this as our kind of match of the week because there's some really cool stuff going into this one. If you want to kind of lay that one out.
So we've got form versus reputation, essentially. You got London Spitfire, red hot right now. Dallas Fuel, they know they're in, but it's a case of can they sort of turn up with the performance? I think that's going to be the key factor here. Fearless, this is not entirely look comfortable to me. Whereas London, no matter what, they will give you a game.
100%. It's a matter of we talked about this offline yesterday. A traditionally, especially the last few years or whatever, bottom team punching way up, like rolling through, like climbing grabbing the rope ladder, or that falls beneath them, but they're still grabbing onto the stone, trying to climb to the top as the earth is falling underneath them. Whereas Dallas Fuel is a traditionally top team for the last year or two, and a great talented squad on paper, but it kind of looked uncomfortable.
I mean, they're not, as they would say in the cast, sandbagging. That is not saying they're doing. They're not sort of throwing games or anything like that. It's that they don't look comfortable.
Yes. So this is going to be
time to play them.
Yes, exactly. This is a good time. This would this be no? London had a kind of shocking win over Glads early on, right?
Yeah, I believe it was.
That was stage one.
Yeah.
So, but on par, this would probably be. And then I think they might have even had a win over Atlanta, right? But this,
it was Atlanta.
I think this would be one of their biggest wins of the season should they lock this down.
Yeah. So Matt, where are you going on this one?
I'm same thing on this one. I'm not going to do a baseball bat. I'm going to do a football pitch, just a full on punt down. I got to give it to London. I think it'll be a good competitive game. I think London pulls it out 3-2.
I thought I was going to be controversial because I was going to say London as well.
Yeah, I just think they're on such a roll, and I think they're feeling so damn confident.
Yeah, so I'm going to say a 3-2 to London Spitfire.
Yeah. And I'll be straight up. I will be biasly rooting because I want to see them. I want to see them do it. I love that story of the come up from them. That's really cool. And then to close out the weekend, two of our teams who have struggled a little bit, but it's kind of an interesting matchup too. Two teams that have struggled but have had recent shows of like brilliance, like little flashes of hope. So who flashes brighter? When it comes down to it, New York Excelsior, Boston Uprising.
Boston for me. I mean, I've got the sympathy for Yaki, Gangnam Jin, and Coach Kuki, but Boston, again, if they play Punk, Crimzo has looked really comfortable on the Zen.
Yes, incredible.
MCD looks really good on the Ana. So in terms of the overall squad quality, I'm going to say Boston in potentially a 3-0.
Wow. I'm gonna agree with the Boston pick for sure. I think as a unit they've looked a little bit better. not relying on pop-off performances. A couple of those that NYXL
Spread the
maps.
workload kind of thing.
Yeah, there were a couple of Yaki hero plays that kept him in some of those Dallas Fuel matches and stuff like that. Like where it's like, oh, that's great, but oof, like by the skin of your teeth kind of thing. So yeah, I agree with you, Boston. I think Boston will take it 3-1.
Okay.
So you let us know what you think about those matches, as we told you before, especially our match of the week, London Spitfire and Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, let us
Ladies
know
and
about
gentlemen.
Justice versus Titans, because I think that's going to
Yeah.
be a real knife edge one. It's like
Yeah,
you just
I think
don't
so
know.
too. That is another issue. Yeah, it's such a toss up for us. So those two matches, please let us know what you think. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave it in the comments below. I will try to do a little pinned post to it asking how you feel about it. Leave a comment on Spotify or iTunes. This will be available on all of those platforms tomorrow. And so thank you guys for hanging with us for another episode. We'll see what happens in the final week of the Midseason Madness qualifiers. But until then, for Plexomatic, for the Drama King, for the totally absent Bear who's always just scared of seeing his
Get
teams
back
lose.
here, Richard.
Get back here. Get away from your real life and join us. Oh my goodness.
Join us in the fantasy. Get
Yes.
caught in a landslide.
Ooh. So until next time, everybody, thank you for joining us. We'll see you
No
next
escape
week.
reality.
Like, subscribe, do all that nonsense. Seriously, just leave a comment saying, dude, I don't care. It helps us out. It pushes algorithms. And the world is built by algorithms. We all must acquiesce to the machines. Help us acquiesce to the machines at least a little bit more. So do all that stuff. And until then, we will see you later.
Bye.